Hello, this is Angelica Francis with WYDK TV, and we are talking about your health. And I have my friend here, Eric Salisbury, who is a vegetarian, correct?
That's correct.
Now, are you vegan or a vegetarian? Because I know there's different types. Can you explain?
Well, actually, for myself at this point, I am not practicing total vegan, though
Hmm.
I have, but due to nature of my work and eating out a little bit more often,
You're vegetarian. Do you eat eggs or dairy products?
I do allow that into my diet, but not on a any type of a regular basis.
Now, I have a brother who's vegan, so that means no eggs, no dairy, no butter, anything
No
like that.
butter.
Anything that came from an animal in any way.
Yeah, even honey.
Oh, I didn't know honey was included. Really?
Yeah, yeah, because it comes from an insect. It's bee bark.
Okay, we didn't have to go there because I happen to like honey.
um,
Scratch that. Okay, but
yeah, it's yeah, anything that's from any animal you don't want to eat.
well, a bee's not an animal; it's an insect. I
Well,
mean,
if it locates,
technicality, but I'll take my stuff when I can get it.
yeah. Well, for many who are very extreme, they would not even eat honey. So
Well, some people find the fact that I eat a kosher diet, honey. I mean, extreme.
right.
So let's talk about the different types of eating. What's allowed, what's not, what rules apply, that kind of thing.
And now you're talking about a kosher diet, or are you talking about vegetarianism?
Well, I know about kosher because I eat kosher, but in
Right.
terms of vegetarianism, the different types of vegetarianism.
Well, I, I, you caught me at a time where I haven't brushed up on that since I didn't do any research. It's been a while. When you live it, sometimes you just don't get an opportunity to really talk about it much anymore. But the vegetarian lifestyle is just a better lifestyle. You are what you eat. What we always hear, and food is alive. So when you
Okay, well, right now I'm a root beer float because I just totally doused one, but go ahead.
yeah. So is it you said root beer float, meaning that
Oh, yeah.
you pie, apple pie, or any type of fruit pie.
What's your favorite kind?
I don't have a favorite one. I don't. When I was a kid, it was lemon meringue.
I
I
make a
loved it.
mean lemon meringue pie.
Uh huh.
I'm having a
And as I
tourist
got older,
recipe.
it became fresh strawberry pie.
I've never made strawberry pie before.
Yeah, fresh strawberries, and basically it's making a crust, filling it up with strawberries,
And
and
kiwi.
you can top it off with the cream. And as a vegetarian, you can top it off with tofu. You can sweeten the tofu, blend it, whip it up, and put that on top of your strawberries in a layered vegan crust.
I've never tried that, and I do eat tofu, and I'll give it a shot. Although, right off the bat, when you initially said that, I kind of cringed a bit because it's like, oh, that does not sound appetizing. But
Oh yeah,
one of the things I like about tofu, when I first got introduced to it, I was like, ew, are you kidding me? But it will take on the flavor of anything you stick in it, any seasoning you use, whatever. So it really does adapt the flavor well. So I could see it being used for dessert successfully.
it,
You could
it
probably
makes
make a great custard or a custard pie out of tofu.
it does. It does. You can make some very good desserts out of tofu, and you can do other things. You can make your own mayonnaise. For your sandwich bread or your whip or what is it called? Not whipped cream. You can do whipped cream, but it's a
Cool Whip
like a Cool Whip. With your tofu. I was
or
trying to think of
Miracle Whip? Miracle Whip.
well, Miracle Whip is full of sugar, so you would have to really sweeten up your tofu if you like a Miracle Whip. I wouldn't recommend anything that has processed sugar in it at all.
Well, I've gotten away from processed sugar. I've got a lot of other bad eating habits that I'm still working on. But I've been using the agave, which is surprisingly from the cactus is really a nice sweetener. It works wonderful in coffees and teas. I also do the what is the other one called? I can't think of the name of it right offhand, but it's similar to the agave, and it's just a natural. Are you familiar with the agave? Do you ever use it?
Yes, I do. It's excellent.
I think
It's
so. It's
yeah.
one of the few, no aftertaste, no funny, weird taste to it. It just sweetens things the way. Oh, also, what I do with my pies, because my adopted mom, she was diabetic. And so I couldn't put sugars in the pies, but she loved my pies. So with my sweet potato pie and my apple pies and my peach cobblers, I would substitute the sugar with apple juice concentrate or pineapple juice concentrate and use
Yeah.
no sugar in them at all. And it worked wonderful. The pies were fantastic.
Yes, you can use. You can boil down the raisins, dried fruit. There's fruit sugars. There's a lot of ways to get your
I
sweetener.
don't like the taste of dates because they're too sweet, but dates in like chocolate cakes and brownies, oh my gosh, as the sweetener, works fantastic. And also prunes do. But you kind of got to be careful on how many of those prunes you stick in there.
Yeah, another good sweetener too is pure maple syrup.
Yes. Have you ever heard of the Master Cleanser, where you mix pure maple syrup, um,
Lemon.
lemon, and cayenne pepper, and to
Yes.
cleanse your body, and you do a fast, and that's all you drink is a tea made of those ingredients?
Yes. There's so many ways to cleanse out your body. But what's important is that when you're cleaning out your body with a good diet, and juices and things of that nature, you do not want to really flush out your body. Some people go to the extent of having, a tube put up in the private area of their bodies to have themselves washed out,
Colonics? What's wrong with colonics?
because you're washing out a lot of good stuff too.
Well, if you go to a reputable place, because I'm a person who will get a colonic and clean out my system, but I'm also a person who has a hard time keeping their system regulated. So, too much information. But anyway,
Well,
um,
it's better to keep your system regulated by your diet instead of going in and having it washed out.
mm, I beg to differ on
Yeah.
that. I mean, it's not comfortable. It's a horrible sensation to go through and everything, but you feel so much better immediately after versus it takes weeks and stuff to clean your system out that much to where you feel that level of feeling better. But I will say they add the what do you call it? The
Probiotics.
yes,
Probiotics.
probiotics in the last flushing that they do. So they're putting them back. When you're dealing with someone who's a professional and the doctors that do it, and when you go to a reputable place, they make sure they put the probiotics back in your body. They don't just clear out everything that's in your system.
If it works for you, there's a much more gentler way of handling those things and letting your body do its own work itself.
Right. I prefer to do everything else first because, as far as I'm concerned, you can just leave that whole area in my body alone, period. But I do. I can honestly say that I have done it, and I've had a great response cleaning my system out and everything. I felt fantastic afterwards. You actually can feel all the toxins out of your system, so it has its advantages.
It does.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Now, as far as the cleansing, the body, I've been doing wood juicing, using the green vegetables and things like that. Now, with a lot of people, when they juice, they take all the fiber out. So what I do is with the juices, because most of the juices are really good about that, they take every drop of the fiber out. Is I take at least a handful of it and put it back into the juice.
mm-hmm.
That way, I'm still getting my fiber. But which ones do you suggest are some of the best ones you can use for juicing?
Well, part of what works for me when it comes to juicing, it's a good idea. It's okay to juice your green leafy vegetables, things of that nature. And so I juice the greens, and you can use the pulp that's left over if you have anything left over. I prefer to juice things where everything still stays intact. But if you do it to where you're squeezing everything out of having leftover fiber, in other words, you can cook the fiber down and make a soup, make cream soup out of it if you like to, make a pate out of it. There's so many things that you do to recycle the fibers. But when it comes to fruit, it's better to eat the fruit than to juice the fruit. Getting the sugars again.
Now, I know with a lot of fruits, some of the best vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and things like that are just beneath the skin of the fruit. But most of us do peel the fruits because a lot of times pesticides or other things that we don't really want to ingest are on the fruit, like at the stores with apples, they put that wax on them and things like that. So a lot of times we'll peel the skins off of the fruit, even though some of the most vital nutrients are just beneath the peeling. What can we do, or do you know what we can do to kind of counterbalance that?
Well, there's two ways I look at it, and unfortunately, that is the truth what you just shared. But one of the things that I find is helpful is, first of all, wash your fruits, wash them very thoroughly, and also understand this: your body is wonderfully made, and if you do the best you can before you put it in your mouth, your body will take care of the rest. Our bodies are always taking out toxins and poisons and things of that nature. And so that's what it does. So don't be so concerned about, what contaminants are on the fruit. Wash as much as you can off of it, but still get that skin in your body because, your body will work the bad stuff out.
Now, one of the things that I found, you know how you can go to the store and you buy these fruit washes and fruits and veggie washes that's supposed to take the contaminants and the pesticides and things like that off, but they can get pretty expensive. And then also, if you look at the list of ingredients on the back, it's got chemicals in it too. So I'm kind of a little bit leery about that. But one of the things that you can do that is healthy and natural and actually helps preserve the life of your fruits and vegetables is take just a few tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide into about a gallon of water and about 2 tablespoons of baking soda and wash and clean and just let your fruits and vegetables sit and soak in it for a few minutes and then rinse them off, and it helps to take a lot of the toxins and things like pesticides and all that stuff off of your fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, I find that that works really well. I've done that,
Baking
and
soda and water works really good for that real thick coating that they put on apples and oranges.
that's right. And actually, baking soda has a lot of good properties. Instead of using the harmful chemicals of your cleansers, use
Hmm.
baking soda. It cleans up, it shines things up very, very well.
Whitens your teeth naturally without fluoride, which is highly toxic.
Right.
One of the things, you can make alkaline water with just a fourth a
Lemon.
teaspoon of baking soda and lemon.
Yeah, I prefer just straight lemon.
I
You
love
know,
lemon water.
yeah, lemon water. It's a good thing to take every morning. I try to get my lemon water in every single morning. Sometimes when I'm traveling, it's not as easy, but and it starts off my day.
Now, a lot of people think the alkaline water, you know how they have all the new fads, the bottled water, the flavored water, the water with protein in it. Alkaline water isn't a fad. Our bodies, when we're first born, we come into this world in the alkaline state. Disease cannot exist in an alkaline state. Cancer, all those type of diseases and issues that people have and illnesses do not exist in an alkaline state. And so we want to get our bodies and maintain our bodies in an alkaline state. But when you add all the toxins in the foods that we eat, all the things that we put in our bodies that were never meant to be in our bodies, we eat a tremendous amount of chemicals. And fried foods, foods that have been devitalized and cooked so they have no nutritional value anymore. All these things, our body has to produce more and more acids to digest them, and in return, our bodies become acidic, which is the breeding ground, and it allows diseases and things like that to flourish in our systems. So things like what you said, the lemon juice and water. You can also do it with pineapple juice, any citric fruit,
That's right.
correct? Pineapples are one of my favorite because pineapples are high in something called bromamine. Bromamine is an anti-inflammatory. I was in a bad car accident, so I have some pretty good damaged discs, and when they hurt, they hurt. The bromamine is one of the best pain relievers that I've ever used. That and turmeric, the cooking seasoning.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. The doctors at one point were giving me Oxycontin for my back because one of my discs were torn, and the turmeric, just turmeric in a glass of milk, or in my case, because I don't drink cow's milk, I drink almond milk and soy and rice milk, but just a tablespoon of turmeric. And within 30 minutes, the pain was completely gone. That stuff works like magic.
Yeah. Sounds like I should be interviewing you.
talk more about the vegan eating because so many of us who have thought about going vegan, we still really like meat, and we don't think there's a whole lot of things that taste good to eat that are completely vegetarian or vegan.
Well, for many of us, because our taste buds have been perverted by the foods that we eat, the processed foods, the flesh meat foods, with the high seasonings and gravies and all that, we really perverted our taste buds, so we don't know how to appreciate the natural goodness that is in raw foods. And when you're talking about eating broccoli, where don't you not don't have to eat it raw, but you don't overcook it. You know, when it starts to turn that real pretty color in the steamer,
That beautiful bright green.
that bright green, that's when it's ready to be eaten. And you can taste the sugar, the sweetness that is in it. You don't add no salt, no other seasonings. Eat it just like that, and it's like eating a piece of fruit. It is so good. And the other thing about it is that, there's adjustments. There's adjustment going on because I love pizza. And what
You
makes
know we're
pizza,
having pizza tonight.
yeah. So what makes pizza taste good is the combination of the cheese and the sauce and the bread, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you walk in a restaurant where that serves pizza and you say, "I want a pizza, hold the cheese," they do look at you quite crazy. It says, "What?" It says, "Hold the cheese." And because you eat it with just the sauce and the bread itself and whatever topping you want to put on there, whether it's olives, onions, different things of that nature, and it's a good way to go. Our bodies were originally, according to resources and information out there, our original diet did not include any flesh foods. It was made up of mostly grains, fruits, and what we call vegetables. But really, vegetables is herbs. The herbs, we give it a title vegetables, and we've divided up into two categories, herbs and vegetables. But really, there was no such thing as vegetables. All of it is vegetation, but it was called herbs or it was fruit. And all of it was fruit, actually, or meat. Apples, oranges, all the fruit is meat. All the herbs is considered meat. All the grains. And that was the original diet, not only for mankind, but for animal kingdom also.
Now, I've heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but you're not supposed to eat fruits and vegetables together, or there's certain combinations of foods that cancel each other out, so you have to eat certain things with certain things.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I've actually practiced it before in the past. And again, I'm becoming more knowledgeable of believing that our body knows how to distribute what we put in it. We become knowledgeable of a lot of things and we help our bodies out. But our bodies are wonderfully made and it knows where to put what, where it needs to go. It sorts it out. Yeah, it may take a little bit more work than if you did it for it. But I think if we spend too much time trying to figure out how much of this I should eat and how much of this I should not eat, we're going to lose out on the enjoyment of eating. I
Well,
watch the programs that sell juicers, and they will have a big giant table full of fruits and vegetables and say that's how much you're supposed to eat every day. And it's impossible to eat that much every day. And if it's impossible to eat that much every day, then that means your body does not require to eat all of it. But yet, if they juice it, then you can have all these servings, and it's supposed to be so much healthier for you. And I look at it and I say, we have to use some common sense. And you drink as much water as you need to. Some advocate 12 glasses, 8 glasses, whatever it is. You drink as much as you can handle, you know, and your body knows. People from all different parts of the world consume less water than sometimes a glass a day. They live to be old, but they're getting a lot of their water from the things that they eat, from their climate, different ways. So it's best to be in tune to your own body. Know your own body and know what you can and cannot eat, what you should and should not eat, and eat those things that make your body happy.
Well, what if somebody says chocolate and cake make my body happy?
Then you eat it, until you find out what's in it, and you realize that it makes your taste buds happy, but not your body. I was going to say something earlier about apple pie.
Mm-hmm.
You have apple pie and you have the apple. Now, the apple in and of itself is very healthy. The apple pie will give you cardiac arrest. Okay, it's full of sugars and creams, and especially if you make a la mode where you put the ice cream on top, you got so
Sounds
much
yummy to
in.
me.
You've literally perverted a nutritional food, and you know you eat an apple a day. What keeps the doctor away? But you eat a
Mm-hmm.
pie a day. Guess what? You're gonna be seeing the doctor a lot more often.
It sounds like a case of diabetes waiting to happen.
It is. And so we miss out on the natural beauty of food in its natural state, alive, and we have perverted it so that we can get the credit for what we have created and what we made. And
Well,
with
one
food,
of the things I found, because when I used to be into performing and stuff like that, I had to maintain a certain body weight and, things would show. And you know how people go on these diets and they're on a diet, off a diet. Actually, your diet should be a way of life, something that you do all the time. It's not something you're going to go on and off. And letting your body's weight jump up and down is actually very bad for your health. But one of the things I used to do so I wouldn't feel like I had to deprive myself, because I like food. I'm from a family, everyone in our family can cook, and we're international, so we've got cuisine from everywhere in the world at our family gatherings, and we can cook and we bond over food. We do everything with food in our family. And so it's kind of hard to maintain your weight or to not overdo it when it comes to food. So, what I would do is certain days of the week, I would have dessert. I would not have dessert every day. One of the problems in the United States that we have is that we feast every day. Feasts are good on occasions and special occasions, but you don't feast every day. People go to those all you can eat places and eat all they can force in their bodies until they can't hold anymore every single day. And that's not good for the body, and you're overloading your system. But when you allow yourself to be able to have certain days and certain times that you can have the things that you like, your little naughty thing, like root beer floats. Every Friday we have root beer floats and pizza. It's a tradition since I was a child. My mother started, and I did it with my kids, and now they do it with theirs. And that's our binge day, our day that we can have whatever we want and enjoy it with no guilt, but we don't do it all week long. And that's very important, because when you feel like you're depriving yourself of something, it's really hard to stay on and be consistent with keeping or maintaining a healthy diet. The minute you can't have something, you want it 10 times more than you did before.
um, I haven't had that problem.
Oh, you stop. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He's
Once
not
you
human. Okay.
Right. I mean, once you make a decision that this is something that you're not going to do and you understand why you're not going to do it, it's usually not a problem. It's only a problem if you're doing it against your will.
Not with me. I am not going to lie and pretend like I've got that kind of discipline. If I know that I can cheat, then I know I can behave the rest of the week. But I got to have my days I can cheat.
Well, nothing more I can say about that. If it's a lifestyle, it's a lifestyle. If lifestyle includes Friday night binge, then why not?
Well, Friday into Saturday, but no further beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are times like you said, there are times in our lives where there's holiday gatherings or family gatherings, and we may eat more than we normally would, or eat things that we normally would not put in the mouths. It's part of life. Food is a social thing for a lot of us, and
It definitely is for
you
our
want
family.
right, and whatever you do, you don't want to be offensive to anyone in your diet. One little something that you may put in your mouth that's out of the norm is not going to kill you. It's not going to make you a bad person, and it doesn't make you a better person because you don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you have to be real with yourself, and You have to set those boundaries and guidelines for yourself and do it according to knowledge. So many people do things out of a fad or out of getting attention or getting noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And, unless your heart is really in it, you're going to have some real struggles with maintaining it. I meet a lot of people who are vegetarians. They say, "Oh, I used to be a vegetarian, or I used to this, and I used to that." And you ask them, "How long were you when you used to do it?" And they did it for a season or two. You
Well,
know,
I was a vegetarian. I used to be. And the reason why I stopped being a vegetarian is my husband, I married a man who wasn't. And I had to cook meats and heavier foods for him. And I got tired of having to prepare separate meals all the time. So, little bit by little bit, I started eating more of the types of foods he ate. And that's how I got out of being a vegetarian.
yeah. Well, it's unfortunate that that happens to a lot of people. Sometimes you can persuade them to eat a healthier diet. Sometimes you end up, eating the less healthy diet. So,
Yeah. Well, that was the idea. I thought I was going to change him into a vegetarian over time, but it ended up going the other direction.
yeah.
It went
I,
totally south.
yeah, because even for myself, I can remember, being a vegetarian for well over 20 years or so, and I kind of lost count after a while. But I remember on a couple of occasions in traveling and being overseas, being in third world country, and the people who are poor, they offer you something, and sometimes it's a great gesture just go ahead and accept what they offer you. And I can remember being offered a piece of chicken,
Mm-hmm.
and so I accepted it, and I ate a little bit of it. You don't have to eat the whole thing, but just show that you appreciate it. You eat a little bit. It's not going to kill you. You can chew on it and spit it out later if you want to. But the thing about it is that it's not going to kill you to do anything that I believe is an act of love, an act of acceptance. We should never let our diet, our food, make us feel like we're better than people who don't eat the meat. Everybody makes choices, and some choices are not good, some are, and but yet we have to, love each other and respect each other's choices. Just as long as you don't impose it upon me, I won't impose my vegetarianism on you.
Well, I have a friend. His name is Andre, and he's works with the boxers and stuff in New York. And these guys are big, husky, masculine men. You would never know that they're, or you would. They're not the idea of vegetarian or vegan. You think of these skinny people that are wasting away as the vegans and vegetarians, and they're not. They're huge, husky, wow, bodied men.
Well,
And
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. Well, there's a myth. I mean, there's always this myth that a plump child or a plump person has to be made plump, and you want to feed them with lots of beef and
Mm-hmm.
potatoes and fats and
Or to build
sugar.
muscle, you have to eat lots of lean meat. That's not
Yeah,
necessarily true because these guys are fantastic.
yeah. I
And
know.
they don't eat meat, they're vegans.
Yeah, I know women who are power lifters. That's not
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilding. That's just lifting straight up heavy weights.
Mm-hmm.
And they're vegans. They're vegetarian. You know, and my goal actually is someday to eat nothing but raw foods. Not quite there yet. And I
I'm
don't
working
care.
on that. I'm working on that little bit by little bit.
Yeah, it's a process, because it's not something that is a part of my upbringing either. Because I grew up in a family where if it moved, you ate it, and if it didn't move, you
From the
threw it in the
rooter to the
garbage.
tutor. I got to go there because I know that our family, yes, yes. That's one thing about having international family. There's no part and pretty much no animal that is not eaten within the family.
Yeah. Well, there was a time in my life I thought my goal in life was to eat anything and everything that could be eaten. And
Yeah, but I
so
drew the line on the bugs.
yeah, oh, I was ready to eat bugs. I figured if I drank enough beer, I can, eat anything. But I stopped drinking any alcohol. I stopped eating any flesh meats, and try to avoid anything in life that is not healthy.
Now,
Um,
why not drinking any alcohol? What is that? Because I've had doctors say wine is actually healthy for your body, or a glass of port wine. I have a tendency towards anemia sometimes, and the doctor actually told me you should have a glass of port wine every night before you go to bed because it actually helps with the blood. So why?
Well, from my research, you get the same benefits from a good grape juice that you do from wine.
Okay.
Um, the elements that are in it is in both. So I prefer to have something nice and sweet like fresh grape juice than old wine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they both have the same benefits.
It's just a
It's
matter of preference.
a preference. That's right.
Okay. Well, some people it's religious belief. Some people, everybody has their perspective.
Right.
Now, one of the things I was going to say about is my son and I went to New York to watch the guys box over at Madison Square Garden. And Andre took us out to this fantastic restaurant that was all vegan. We walked into the restaurant and we thought that, well, maybe we walked into the wrong restaurant because you saw people with steaks and shrimp cocktails and everything looked like normal everyday food.
Right.
And it was all vegan. It was all made from vegetables. It looked like the real thing. It smelled like the real thing. The taste, the textures when you bit into it was like the real thing. I ordered a Philly cheesesteak that was completely vegetarian. My son got shrimp cocktail, and the shrimp tasted like real shrimp. But there was no animal products involved at all. It was a vegan restaurant, and I was absolutely amazing because so many people like myself think, well, if I go vegetarian or raw foods, I'm going to miss out on a world of flavor when you can actually do it and not miss anything or miss out on anything.
And actually, you're introduced to a whole new world when it comes to flavor. The thing that we have a problem with is getting away from the visual aspects of what we're accustomed to seeing on our plate.
Right.
So there's a lot of,
Well, there's actually restaurants and places that cater to that because to look at the food and a steak, I think my brother ordered a steak. It looked like the real thing, the texture, it felt like the real thing, it smelled like the real thing. I said, you know what? They're serving us real meat and stuff, and they're just pretending like it's vegan because it was so realistic. I was amazed.
yeah, I've been in restaurants like that too, and it's very amazing. I've heard stories, read stories about emperors in China who could not eat flesh meats any longer, but they still wanted the look and the taste of it, and so he hired his cooks to master the look and taste of what he was accustomed to, and they did it all with fungus and mushrooms and
Hmm.
things of that nature, and so the food is so good when you taste it, it's hilarious. I mean,
Yeah,
makes you,
I was flabbergasted. I'm like, there's no way they didn't put meat in this. There's no way that this isn't real meat. And they're like, no, no, no. We even called the waiter over and talked to him. Go, okay, come on, tell me. You guys slipped a little. It's like, no, there's nothing in there.
yeah. And I've been, I mean, I wouldn't even know because it's been so many years since I've had a piece of red meat or chicken or things of that nature that
How many
uh,
years?
I'm not sure if if I taste something vegetarian, if it is tasting like the real thing or not. I don't have any that comparison with taste buds any longer. I'm so accustomed to the vegetarian lifestyle. So even if it was vegetarian and it tastes like real chicken, I probably wouldn't even know that it was tasting like real chicken.
Well, we eat kosher, and we were in a store the other day, and they had vegan shrimp. It looked like shrimp, and my son and I looked at each other and go, I don't know about this. Because before we started eating kosher, we ate regular.
Right.
And shrimp was one of the favorite. Lobster, I'm okay with. Crab, oh yes. So whenever I can find vegan crab and it tastes like crab, oh, I'm all for it. So we tried the shrimp. We made a shrimp fried rice with stir fried vegetables and everything the other night, and it was fantastic. It tastes exactly like real shrimp. So
Really?
I definitely will be going back and get more. Yeah.
I know I've tried it. I've seen the types of shrimps that are out there. They have crabs, they have crawfish, they have mock duck. I mean, just about any creature that people normally eat, there are vegetarian versions of it. And but the thing about those vegetarian versions of meats, a lot of them are highly processed and they're full of
It
salt.
probably was. Yes, it did. And that's
Yeah,
something I have to be careful of. Too much salt. Also, one of the things I find with when I started eating more vegetarian foods, the flavors of the foods was just so much popped at me versus when people cook. A lot of times, for lack of knowing how to properly season foods, because I'm a cook's cook and I tell people this all the time, they load it down with salt or sugar to try to make up for the fact that they don't know how to properly season their food. I don't cook with salt when I cook because I use a big enough combination of vegetables and fruits and herbs that you've got a pack of flavor right there without having to add salt to it. Now, each person can add salt to the individual portion after the meal is prepared, but in the middle of preparing the food, I don't put any salt in my food.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who put a lot of seasoning, salts, and
Mm-hmm.
peppers and highly seasoned food, especially in America, and especially among the African Americans, because there was a time when the African American slaves had to eat the worst of the crops. So they had to eat vegetables that were stringy, that were tough. You couldn't eat it raw. You know, it was food that was fit for the pigs only. And so you had to figure out a way to make it palatable, make it digestible. And what happened was that a lot of those families, what they did is that they cooked the vegetables forever. You know, there was no such thing as a broccoli that was bright green. It had to be almost brown. Corn, the same thing. They cooked it till it was super soft. Everything was cooked down, and then to bring flavor to it, they added salt and pepper,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they did it heavy, like cooking oils and things of that nature, so they can get some flavor out of this food, the slave food that they were eating. Well, there's no need for that any longer. You know, we don't have to put, as African Americans, we don't have to put a lot of salt and pepper. We don't have to overcook our vegetables in order for it to be tender and tasty. That's not necessary anymore. But because of the habit that was passed on from generation to generation, people got accustomed to tasting the seasonings. They
Mm-hmm.
never ever really tasted the fruit itself or the vegetables itself.
That's
And
true.
so until we can get out of that pattern or habit of preparing our food like we're still preparing slave food, nothing's going to change. So you have to be introduced slowly but surely to the freshness and the goodness of the food that is provided. You know, outside of the fact that yes, you know, there are foods that are GMO and all the rest, and you know, we don't know for sure if organic food is really organic, and that's why it's important that we go back to growing our own food.
Well, in most countries, organic means organic. It's no genetically modified. But in the United States, the waters are pretty cloudy, and there's a lot of debate going on right now, and they're trying to get our foods clearly labeled to what is organic and what is genetically modified. And for people who don't understand what the fight is about, foods that have been genetically modified so that they'll produce their own natural pesticides so that the bugs and creatures won't eat them. Well, the same toxins that keep the bugs and other creatures from eating them are also toxic to the human body. It's been proven in several studies. And so we don't want to be ingesting poisons in our foods. And that's what the big debate about, just in case anybody who's not in the loop or hasn't been keeping up with what's been going on. And a lot of people don't realize just how much of the food and the things that we're eating are affected by the genetically modified. They're just thinking about the fresh fruits and vegetables that you find in the stores. But it goes far beyond that because the grains are the biggest things that are being genetically modified. Our oatmeal, our corn, our wheat. And that's your cereals. That's in all of the pre-processed foods that we buy are wheat and corn and soy and oat products that are genetically modified. So it's a very big issue because we have a right to choose whether or not we want to put that in our bodies. And when it's not clearly labeled, we don't know what we're getting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things develop when it comes to our food resources in America, in Western society, because we're getting away from what the food was about for thousands of years. And we are tampering with what God had intended. And we're trying to better things on our own. We're trying to take control of it. And really, what we're doing is making it more difficult for people to eat healthy, to have food itself, and have it at a price that is affordable.
That's
I
another
mean,
issue.
yeah, the price of simple foods is ridiculous, and we have to eat. We don't have to have oil for our cars. We don't have to have some of the other things that could be expensive, but we do have to have water, and we do have to eat. And it's just unfortunate that the water's being polluted, the topsoil's polluted, everything's being polluted, and then they're making up food and water for us to drink, and they can charge whatever price they want because it's no longer carrying the signature or the sign that it came from God. It's
Hmm.
coming from Monsanto, and I don't mean to say that if it's not true, but you know what I mean. It's coming from
Yeah.
some other name, and they're claiming that they are the inventors of that modified seed, and therefore the fruit that is, wrapped around that seed, and they can charge whatever price it was because it's signature fruit.
Yeah, isn't that
Signature
amazing?
fruit.
They can
And
patent
it's
food, but
yeah,
yeah, it's amazing.
right, and
But
it's
they can
become
keep it because I don't want modified food. I want natural, the way God created it food. I don't want anything else put into it or it altered. Every time humans try to play God and try to alter humans, anything, crossbreeding genetics, it always has catastrophic, I mean, absolutely horrendous results. And it would seem that humans would learn to stop that. But just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should. And the scientists found a way to do it and they're doing it. So,
well, greed and power play such a vital role in the development and change of a country, of a society today. And unfortunately, people don't speak up anymore because we're so busy with our electronic entertainment and things of that nature that even when we hear something that's going bad, we don't take the time out to try to make a change and do something different about it. And so we just kind of go along, get along, and we're going to pay for it in the end.
yes, I'm very concerned about what the end result on that situation is going to be.
Yeah.
But in the meanwhile, what we have to do is try to eat as healthy as we possibly can, supply our body with as many antioxidants to combat the free radicals and the polluted food that we're eating. And the best way to do that, you and I have had many talks about juicing.
Mm-hmm.
And before we go, I'd like to ask you, what are some of your favorite juicing combinations?
Um, you know, any of the berries. I love pineapple. And just about anything that you like to your taste bud. Mine, it varies. I'm very flexible. But I think my favorite combination has to do with any type of berries. I'm not eating as many strawberries as I once did because of what I'm learning about what's going on with the tampering of the strawberries.
Also,
Um,
strawberries of all the fruits is most highly use of pesticides.
right. And so, like this morning, I got up, I went out and picked fresh blackberries, and I added.
See, I want to live in your neighborhood. I love that. We have too many bears and deer here. There, you will never find fresh berries.
Oh yeah, we have fresh berries. And I saw another berry I wasn't familiar with, so I have to look it up and find out what kind of berry it is. But it's a beautiful berry, and I'm thinking that it might be edible for human consumption. So I'm going to find out because there's plenty of those growing too. So all this is growing wild. This is not planted food. This is food that's just there. We have so much food in our cities, even.
Hmm.
But the reason why we don't recognize it when we see it is because we don't know its face.
Yeah.
And if we get to know its face, then we will know that it's something that we can eat, from the ground to the trees. There's a lot of eating food there, so there's no need for anybody really to starve. There's plenty of food to go around.
One of the next shows that I'm going to do is talking about container gardening and growing our herbs and a lot of our medicinal herbs as well as our cooking herbs and fresh vegetables. Things like tomatoes that cost a fortune in the store. And what a lot of people don't realize is most of the fresh fruits and vegetables that you buy in the stores were picked before they were ripened.
That's
Because if
right.
they were ripe at the time they were picked, in the process of transporting them, they would go bad. So they pick the green vegetables and fruits and they ripen in the trucks on the way to the stores. So they never reach their full potential for nutritional value. And so I was always very blessed and fortunate to have my own gardens and acreage to where we grew pretty much 70% of everything we ate on our own property. And the flavors are so different. Tomatoes are actually a fruit, and people wonder why because they kind of have an acidic taste when you bite into them, but not the ones that are grown all the way to ripen on the vine.
That's right. There's so many benefits to having your own gardening. I mean, just getting your feet and your hands in the soil
It's
is
therapy for
very
me,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, it actually draws out a lot of poisons from our bodies, believe it or not. And you know, there are so many things that we used to do that was good that we don't do any longer, and we need to get back to Eden, back to nature, back to doing those things. I mean, a lot of people who live long lives spend a lot of time in the dirt. You know,
Yes.
just there's something about it. There's something about being in that dirt, and of course, eating fresh fruits and vegetables when they're ripened on the vine, and the tree is the best way to go. It's the only way to go.
That's
And
true.
unfortunately, there are those again who have taken over those resources, and they did it not because of our benefit, but for their own personal benefit and gain. And the rest of us kind of suffer as a result. I'm looking forward to a day when I'll be able to have a little bit more land, and I would love for us to go back to the bartering days when I would have carrots, you would have potatoes, and somebody else would have
That's my
strawberries.
neighbors and I used to do, and I loved it because everybody had different things in their gardens, and certain people have certain fruit trees and we would just swap items. We'd even confer with each other to say, okay, what are you planting this season, and deliberately plant different crops. Because another thing, real quick before, because we're running out of time, is the fact that the soil is so depleted where most of our food is grown because they do not rotate the crops. You can't plant the same thing that requires the same nutrients over and over again in the same ground and expect there to still be nutrients left for the plants to grow and to be packed with nutrients in our food.
Well, that's why they drug the soil, because it's like making someone do something that they can no longer do. But if you put them on steroids or something, then they can continue on against what is natural.
But it
So,
doesn't have the nutritional content because that has to be gotten from the soil. And if it's not in the soil, it's not in the food that you're eating. And that's one of the things we used to compost all of our own soil. I miss that. I miss that, and it is the way to go. And I understand some people in their lifestyles it doesn't fit. Well, then go to farmers markets, go to organic garden places.
yeah, I do a lot of my shopping there. You get a lot of great organic food. You get to meet the farmers, or the pickers, and it's a great way to learn more about foods that you eat, where they're coming from, and the variety. I mean, you get so much better variety of foods when they're locally grown, and you know that you're helping those who are really trying to do what's right. So I recommend that. Go to those farmers markets. I love it when those farm markets are open during the summer and spring, and you really can come away with some very healthy food. I mean, food that lasts. It doesn't go bad after a few moments, and it isn't full of toxins and pesticides and all the other sides that are placed on it and in it. And things simple like potatoes will last you the entire winter, without going bad. So organic is the way to go. If you can grow your own, it's even better. And you know, eat that which is lively. Eat
I
the food
agree.
as lively as you can.
I
Try not to
agree.
overdo it or over process anything. Stay away from foods that have a long list of ingredients, especially when those terms are not food terms. They sound like they came out of a lab. So you know what? Avoid it. Make your own, cook your own popcorn. You know, stay away from those microwaved processed foods and so forth. But at the same time, be practical, move in that direction, and gradually you'll become a better consumer of what God has provided for all of us.
Well, I want to thank you again and our audience. This is Eric Salisbury joining me today, and I'm very much looking forward to him joining me on some of the television programs. for your health. And thank you very much for your contribution today.
Well, you're welcome, and look forward to us coming together again.
I'm looking forward to it too.
All right.
Well, this is WYDK TV, Your Health.
WYDK Talk Radio and WYDK TV. Our goal is to educate our listeners and viewers, because what you don't know can harm you. Empowerment through knowledge.